I am connecting from Geneva. I was supposed to be there this evening, but I was strangled here in Geneva due to snow. So I apologize for not being able to join David Ferguson today for this Global Emerging Leaders Award. I've been requested by David to see whether we could share with the forum some ideas about what is going to be discussed next week in Davos at the World Economic Forum, what we call the fourth industrial revolution. So we are going to project the current industry, which is something like $1.7 trillion industry, on the next 5 years, where we're going to have a situation that something like 20 billion devices are going to be connected to the internet. We have currently 1.8 billion devices, which are mainly mobile phones and sensors. But this is extrapolating towards a future economy where the entire ecosystem of devices, what we call IoT, Internet of Things, is going to be connected to the internet. So during the history of human being, we had already three revolutions. We had the first industrial revolution, which were mainly people moving from the agricultural environment to cities. Then we have the second industrial revolution, where steam machines and the automatization process reduce the complexity and increase the efficiency of people. Then we have the what we all know, the IT revolution, the PCs, the connectivity, the telephones, the modems, everything that allows us to reach out and interconnect among the humans. But now we are entering a totally new revolution, which is a revolution where we're going to have to share the world with the machines. IoT, which stands for Internet of Things, it is a place where all the objects are connected to the internet, where those objects, they have their own intelligence so they can take decisions. In some cases, decisions that will complement the human's decision in making processes more efficient and in making the internet a much better place. Obviously, the consequences and the factors of improvement are going to be endless. We already start to get some kind of examples like Tesla, where Tesla is not anymore a car manufacturing company. It's actually a software company manufacturing cars. So we are shifting the manufacturing capability of the many industries into software companies, and they are suddenly making their products more efficient. Tesla, for instance, now with a click, with something we call an upgrade on their operating system, can change the behavior of existing cars without the need to bring those cars back into the infrastructure. Another examples are the sharing economy, where we are now able peer-to-peer to interconnect humans among themselves through mobile phones and create new business models than they were unthinkable before. But now we are entering into something new. What we are entering is in a situation where the humans are going to be sharing the machine capability. I give you examples. Here in Switzerland, our company, WISEKey, which I founded a few years ago and has become a global leader on cybersecurity, started to thinking about how to make watches more intelligent. We have now 1 million watches, and they are interconnected to the internet and among themselves, creating a very interesting environment where watches are used as a key, as a cryptographic key, to open your house, to open your car, to activate your alarm system, to activate your modem, to digitally sign and secure your email. So the key is inside your watch. Many wearables are starting to collect medical data and send that data to clouds for future analysis using big data. Many intelligent robots are completing and competing in some cases against jobs and making the processes more efficient in terms of quality of the process and the cost of that process. So the industrial revolution also, like happened before in the past, brings huge consequences. Some consequences then, for instance, we don't have yet regulation for many new areas. I give an example. Uber now is in a situation where they don't know if the people driving Uber cars, they are salary dependent on Uber or employee of Uber, or they are just people independent for their own right. So legislations in countries do not know how to tax that, how to treat that in case of unemployment. So governments are trying to grasp the opportunity of IoT and the fourth industrial revolution, while at the same time they have to change their legislation. Only countries that they're going to be fast in doing that. The cities that they're going to be intelligence, like the intelligent cities, are they going to be the one that they're going to capture in the attention. Cities are going to be connected with other cities, and only the most efficient of them will create platform-to-platform interconnectivity. Processes are going to be universal. Now, when I created my company a few years ago, we needed hundreds of millions of dollars just to start a company. Now, with using collaborative tools, using cloud, using collaborative research, using IP available on the internet, you can build products, you can build companies, and you can be very successful with only investing a few hundreds of thousands of dollars, which will be even reduced farther in the future. But also the fourth industrial revolution brings many challenges. We are still in a situation, and I was the chief security officer of the United Nations when I started my career here in Geneva, where we start to discuss how the World Wide Web, the internet, can be used as an infrastructure to basically do what has been done in the first 25 years of the existence of the web, which is to create this huge environment where a lot of things are being shared internationally and globally through the internet. But now we are facing the consequences of that. The original design didn't have cybersecurity component on it. The physicians that invented the World Wide Web here at the CERN in Geneva never thought about the need of adding security and the need to provide a strong authentication for objects and people. So what is happening that the software, the hardware that we are using to create the fourth industrial revolution is not secure enough. So the discussions next week at the World Economic Forum is going to be around why we need to improve the cybersecurity of the infrastructure, render the infrastructure resilient against attacks, render the infrastructure resilient against possibility of one government to take advantage on others in controlling that infrastructure, and making the internet as universal as originally thought about it. Obviously, the arrival of objects and the fact that we are connecting 20 billion devices to the internet in the following years is going to accelerate that process because the internet will need to be secure. So new technologies are emerging that will decentralize, for instance, the need of bringing everything to platforms. What we know now, like Google, Facebook, Apple, all of them, they're becoming like huge platforms that more or less destroy the original vision of universality of the World Wide Web and having an internet which is decentralized and an internet which is not owned or controlled by any specific force. So obviously the objects coming to the internet is going to challenge those current platforms because nobody can scale currently, even with all the computing power that those organizations have, the possibility of handling 20 billion objects, sending data on every second basis among themselves and to the clouds, because this huge amount of data needs to be in a decentralized way, otherwise it will never happen. So we are looking into other technologies, like for instance, can we apply blockchain, which is being successful on the process of Bitcoins for virtual currencies, can we apply that to cybersecurity? Will objects being able to themselves to have the intelligence enough to protect themselves if they are attacked, not by depending on an infrastructure or a platform, but because they have the artificial intelligence and the knowledge inside that object to be able to defend an attack. And if they are successful in defending that attack, they will then be able to inform the other objects how this attack has been defended, so the other objects can themselves learn from the intelligence sent by one object, and so on, distribute that knowledge and intelligence all over and all across the infrastructure. That will create a decentralization process, will be very beneficial. We always think about the internet being a global infrastructure, but the internet started very small with only a few hundreds of thousands of people connected to the World Web, then went to several millions of people, and now is growing thanks mainly for mobile phones to several billions of people, but it still is an elite that has been thinking how to structure the internet. What we are thinking now is that 6 billion of people are being connected to the internet and 20 billion objects to being connected to the internet, and it's going to give us the possibility of designing a much better world. The data that is collected by those devices, if that data will be properly analyzed using analytics, using cloud, we will be able to solve many of the recurrent problems of the world, like poverty, like cancer, like many of the things that we are not able to resolve because we don't have yet the data in a way that we can analyze and process. So despite people being pessimistic about the future, I think actually we should be positive about the future. This is going to create a huge amount of opportunity for new global leaders, young leaders, that they can grasp this enormity and convert that into new products, new business model, new processes. So I would like to thank the audience and just concentrate on what will be very important this year, which is the fourth industrial revolution. The subject will be debated in Davos at all levels. What are going to be the consequences of that in 3D printing? What will be the consequences of the fourth industrial revolution per sector, in the medical sector, in the real estate sector, smart building, in the environmental sector, as we are making cities more smart and less carbon dependent. So huge optimistic about the future, and I think a great opportunity for leaders like the ones that they are present today in this presentation to manage to create a better society with the help of all. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Bye.